I was sitting in a client's office, sipping lukewarm coffee, halfway through a pitch that could have secured the biggest deal of my quarter, when my phone buzzed. His name flashed across the screen. I thought it was just a check-in. A quick, "How's the trip going, babe?" sort of call. Instead, I heard his voice, calm, too calm, say, "I'm divorcing you. The paperwork's already filed." I froze. Then he added like he was reading out a weather forecast. "I sold the apartment. I'm moving in with Mia." A pause, a chuckle. "You should probably start looking for a new life. Good luck with that." And then he hung up. Just like that. My husband, the man I had loved, supported, built a home with for 6 years, ended our marriage over a phone call while I was working 300 miles away. And Mia? She was his friend from work. The one I'd always had a strange feeling about. The one he swore was just fun to talk to. Turns out she was fun to live with, too. I barely remember finishing the meeting. I think I smiled. I think I shook hands. But the rage was already boiling. Not the dramatic, screaming kind of rage, the dangerous kind. The kind that simmers and plots. He thought I would be broken. He thought I would beg. He thought I would disappear. He had no idea who he was dealing with. By the time I got back to the city, they were already moved into our apartment. The one I decorated. The one I paid the deposit on when he was broke. He transferred the deed without telling me. I didn't even know he had the authority. Turns out he forged my signature. He was always good with Photoshop. I just never thought he'd use it against me. I checked our joint account. Empty. My personal savings? Almost gone. He'd withdrawn it using my credentials while I was traveling, left me with $87 and a bunch of overdraft fees. But here's where it gets interesting. See, I'm not just a business consultant. I also help people track financial fraud. I've worked with companies to catch embezzlers, double-dipping executives, and even family-run scams. I just never thought I'd be dealing with one in my own marriage. So I started digging. While he was busy playing house with Mia, I was building a case. I downloaded every bank statement, every real estate document, every digital breadcrumb, and I found gold. He'd not only forged my name, he'd lied to the buyer about shared ownership. The apartment sale was illegal. And thanks to some very specific state laws, I still had a legal claim. I also found something better. He'd been hiding assets, an investment portfolio in crypto, registered under a shell company he'd set up in my name before we were married, all of it traced back to him. In legal terms, that's identity theft. In my terms, that was the beginning of my revenge. I didn't confront him. Not yet. Let him enjoy it. The fake freedom, the new woman, the apartment that still technically wasn't his. I wanted him comfortable, unaware. Meanwhile, I got to work. First, I contacted the real estate board and flagged the forged documents, sent them evidence, timestamps, voice notes, and a little video I'd secretly taken of him bragging about how he did everything himself when we first bought the place. It didn't take much to prove my signature was fake. Next, I called a lawyer, a bulldog of a woman who specialized in asset recovery and high-conflict divorces. The kind who doesn't blink when clients say, "I want to burn everything down." We filed to void the apartment sale, froze the crypto accounts, launched a civil suit for identity theft, fraud, and financial abuse. But that was just legal housekeeping. The fun part? That came next. I created a fake profile, one Mia would trust, a designer looking for influencers to model her luxury handmade jewelry. Of course, Mia fell for it instantly. I offered her free PR, photo shoots, a whole brand deal. We set up a photo shoot at a swanky loft. I hired a team, camera crew, stylist, lights. I watched through a one-way mirror as Mia twirled, laughed, posed in silk robes and borrowed diamonds. And then just before the final shot, I sent in my assistant. She handed Mia a bouquet. Inside the bouquet, court summons, fraud accomplice notice, restraining order details. She laughed at first, thought it was a joke, until she saw the apartment address listed, the account numbers, her own messages to him about taking care of the paperwork. She turned white. I didn't even need to speak. I just watched from behind the glass as her world cracked right there under studio lights and fake lashes. She stormed out crying. Meanwhile, I released the photos, every last one, not to embarrass her, no, to brand her. Luxury scam queen, the headlines read, the influencer living off someone else's life. But I wasn't done. I had one more move, the one that would end them both. I waited a few days before making my final move. The media frenzy from the photo leak had already started to take its toll. Mia deleted her social media accounts. Her brand collabs quietly vanished. Companies didn't want to be associated with a woman accused of aiding identity theft. Sponsors dropped her faster than she could draft an apology. Meanwhile, I sent one simple email anonymously to my husband's employer. Subject line: "You might want to see this before your next audit." Attached, all the proof of how he'd used company time, equipment, and resources to manipulate documents, move crypto, and orchestrate the apartment scam. I knew how their compliance department worked, knew who to send it to. Knew it would only take one board meeting to get him out. By the end of the week, he was fired. Not quietly. Publicly. He tried to deny it, of course. Said it was all lies, that his crazy ex-wife was out for blood, but I had receipts. Literal ones. By then, I'd already won the motion to reverse the apartment sale. The new buyer sued him for damages. And my lawyer, God, I love that woman, filed criminal charges. He tried to reach out, called, texted, emailed from new accounts. He begged me to talk, to meet. Said he just wanted to explain. Said he wasn't thinking straight and had made a mistake. The same man who laughed on the phone as he told me to enjoy starting over now sat at home on a borrowed couch with frozen bank accounts and a crying girlfriend who was barely hanging on. But I didn't respond. Instead, I did one last thing. I bought back the apartment, legally, officially, under my name only this time. I changed the locks, had the place deep cleaned, got rid of every trace of them. New paint, new furniture, new life, and then I threw a party. Not just any party, a fundraiser for women going through financial abuse and high conflict divorce. I invited professionals, survivors, even a few media people. We told stories, we laughed, we cried. And when someone asked me why I chose this cause, I smiled and said, because I know what it's like to be robbed of everything and what it takes to take it all back. I didn't hear from him again after that. Maybe he finally understood. Or maybe he was too busy picking up the pieces of the life he'd built on lies. Word spread fast in our old circles. Friends he used to brag to now avoided him like a bad investment. His family? Silent. Even his own sister reached out to me with an apology, saying she had no idea what he was capable of. I didn't need their pity. I wasn't a victim anymore. I was the storm that cleared everything fake and rotting out of my life. The truth is, I didn't just want to ruin him. That would have been easy. I wanted to erase every trace of the woman who once believed he was her forever. And I did. I redecorated the apartment with art I loved, not pieces he picked to impress guests. I cooked meals for myself, danced barefoot in the kitchen, opened a bottle of wine on a Tuesday just because I could. I made it mine. Fully, unapologetically, peacefully mine. Mia? She moved back in with her parents, tried to start over with a podcast about healing from online hate, but it never took off. People don't forget that kind of scandal. And him? Last I heard, he was renting a tiny one-bedroom near the city outskirts, working freelance jobs under aliases, still pretending he had it all together, still blaming everyone but himself. Sometimes I wonder if he ever passes by our old apartment building, sees the lights on, hears laughter from the balcony, and knows I'm still there, still thriving, still rising, without him. And sometimes I hope he does. Not because I want him to suffer, but because I want him to remember exactly what he threw away. I want the last thing he thinks about before he sleeps to be this. The woman he betrayed didn't just rebuild. She built better, she built higher, and she made sure the world saw her do it. Because that's the thing about revenge. You don't need to scream it. You don't need to post it. You don't even need to tell them you've won. You just live so loudly, so fearlessly, and so fully that they can never forget you. And that's the kind of revenge they'll never recover from.